Want dog info sent straight to your inbox every week? Sign up for our email newsletter. No spam. That's not even good enough for the dogs. Simply head to www.beautyandtheburners.com and submit your info at the top of the page and you're in. That's it. I'm super excited. I have a very special guest today. Her name is Yuki Kono. She is from Japan. She is a vet tech and she specializes in traditional Chinese herbal medication for dogs and cats, and also with a focus on nutrition. Yuki, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me today. I'm so excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start off, and if you can give the listeners or the viewers, if you're watching this on YouTube, a little bit of background on how you got to be a vet tech with a focus on traditional Chinese medicine.
Sure. My name is Yuki. I am from Japan, but I moved to United States, I think almost 18 years ago. I was environmental scientist before, focusing on wildlife rescue, especially try to do habitat restoration. So after marriage, I had a difficulty to find a job in that specific area and started to have volunteer work at the kind of animal rescue place. They provide wildlife rehab, and I did wildlife rehab, and I learned there is an occupation called veterinary technician. So I went back to school, get the license, and then wildlife industry, wildlife field is also hard to find a job. So I decided to start regular vet tech for small animals, dogs and cats. I love my job. I've been helping dogs and cats specifically now. Also, I was in Japan with kind of herbal medicine. It's called Kanpo, traditional Japanese herbal medicine. It's really related to traditional Chinese medicine. So I started to relearn what I can do, that knowledge in the United States, especially for dogs and cats who cannot fit to conventional medicine. So I've been treating dogs and cats who had some difficulty to overcome health condition with conventional medicine through utilizing natural foods, herbal medicine, and mushroom.
It's amazing. And that's how you and I met, is through kind of the natural dog nutrition niche that we're both in. I want to start off by asking you, in your opinion, because there's a lot of conflicting information out there, but what kind of food should you be feeding your dog? We have so many different kinds. We've got dry kibble, wet food, homemade, raw, cooked. How do you choose which one, and how do you know when to switch?
First, most important factor is owner's lifestyle. Not everybody can do homemade. Not everybody can stand, inspect high quality of raw food. If for owner's lifestyle, kibble is best fit, definitely start with kibble. And unfortunately, some dog and cat GI issues started from kibbles. In that case, maybe it's time to consider to find alternative option. It doesn't mean has to switch to raw food or homemade food. Maybe just switching to different brands, kibble, add some natural supplement or some kind of dogs, maybe like a steamed vegetables or some cooked meat instead of just dry kibble. Maybe that is enough. It really depends on the dog's, cat's health condition and owner's financial and also lifestyle.
Answer, because even though we do feed our dog fresh homemade food, I do advocate the fact that it's not for everybody and it's not for every dog. I do think it's important, like you said, variety is the spice of life. Even if you're adding maybe some bone broth or some goat milk or something into your dog's dry kibble, just to spice it up a little bit, see how it suits them, see if they like it. It's always kind of fun to see what you can do within your means. I think that's a great point to make. And then as far as joint health, because the reason that we fed our dogs the diet that we do is because of digestive issues. And then also we know in the larger breeds, like the Bernese, joint issues can be an issue. As far as joint health, how do you manage that in traditional Chinese, Japanese medicine?
For the joint issue for the giant breed, large breed, yeah, definitely the primary reason many owners started to concern. relatively early stage of life compared to other sides of dog. First things, if your dog, whatever the breed, comes from a breeder, the best thing is ask them if they did testing. There is an organization called OFA.org. They have a good resources what kind of tests should be done. Early catch of any defect is definitely benefits to prevent. Traditional Japanese point of view, joint health is how to reduce pro-inflammatory food. So kibo or dry food is pro-inflammatory food, which means encouraging inflammation in the body. Definitely your dog is fed by raw food, which compared to, it's a general idea compared to dry foods. Raw food doesn't really have any pro-inflammatory effects, so it can reduce the chance of inflammation. And also there are some herbs like anti-inflammatory effects. Depend on the dog's condition. I add some herbs in the mushroom because many mushroom has anti-inflammatory effect as well. I can recommend to the dogs. However, each dog is really unique. Some dog is very sensitive to some herb, so there is no like universal herb good for everybody.
How do you know if your dog is sensitive to an herb or not? Do they have a reaction, or how do you know?
First of all, if dog has already have a sensitive stomach, like IBS, IBD, or a leaky gut issue, those dogs probably can be really sensitive to anything. There's a food reactivity, food sensitivity, and food allergy. So there is kind of difference between it. If dog has those kind of sensitive stomach, first of all, they have to treat the GI tract first. Otherwise, introducing herb potentially cause vomiting, diarrhea, but it's not because of herb. It's simply because dog has sensitivity to everything new. In general, I introduce small amount and see there is any reaction. Typical reaction is vomiting, diarrhea.
Yeah. And what are some herbs that are good for joint health?
Joint health is, I think, many people started to use curcumin, turmeric, but turmeric also causes diarrhea for some dogs, even for humans. And also turmeric usually not high bioavailable, which means once it's ingested, not many phytochemical, plant chemical will not gonna go into the bloodstream. It's gonna be just digested and pass out. And plus, high dose is not recommended because it potentially cause diarrhea. So it really requires kind of adjustment. But the curcumin is probably most famous anti-inflammatory herb right now. And other thing is boswellia. Boswellia can be tablet, capsule, or maybe alcohol tincture. Boswellia has high anti-inflammatory properties. I even sometimes use boswellia with regular non-steroid inflammatory medicines such as carprofen or other type of foundational NSAID to reduce anti-inflammation issue.
The resource for the OFA, which is the Orthopedic Foundation for Animals, we'll put their link down there too. I know, at least for me, from a personal level, I wanted to talk to you about digestive issues in dogs because my dogs, again, that's what precipitated us starting on this fresh food, raw food diet because we found that a lot of kibble, even the prescription diets from the vets, the limited ingredient diets, they still cause chronic diarrhea, vomiting, IBS. In your experience with the traditional medicine, what are some of the things that people can do to, even if they don't want to do the fresh and the raw food, can do to help mitigate some of those chronic digestive issues?
Easiest one is add prebiotics and probiotics, and omega-3 oil also helps for digestion and protecting GI lining. And also, this is something I frequently use is chamomile tea. Many people like chamomile tea, right? Chamomile tea also has anti-inflammatory effect. Really, really gentle. It's not really strong. If the dog has a GI issue, maybe just make an extra chamomile tea and add to maybe some wet food, canned food, easy to mix it. And if you do homemade mixes, small amounts and see if it's gonna help. And if dog doesn't have any leaky gut issue, maybe you can even use alcohol tincture, chamomile alcohol tincture. a small amount. However, if you see vomiting right away with alcohol tincture, that's a sign, typical sign, stomach is not ready to actually accept alcohol. So have to be really careful about that.
In terms of like with all of these additions, obviously you want, like you said, to add them slowly to the food to see if there is a reaction in the dog. For sensitive stomach dogs, too, I recommend certain foods on a fresh and a raw basis. If the dog can't eat fresh or raw, or if the owner's just not comfortable with it, are there any certain proteins or ingredients in commercial dog foods that owners should look for that may help in those cases?
First of all, I think best way is to see ingredient on the package. Just try to educate yourself how to read labels. Sometimes GI sensitivities comes from just too much fat. Some dog is not really good at digesting fat. For example, I had a client, they are really actually educated, loves kind of raw concept, but they knew giving a raw diet is not their lifestyle. So they started to do freeze dried, high protein, raw food, freeze dry, so easier to give and long lasting storage. I started to have vomiting diarrhea. So basically the dog, even owner believes high protein is good. Sometimes dog is not really good at high protein candidates. If owner is feeding kibble and doesn't really want to switch to raw food or homemade, just started to think what's the percentage of protein and the fat content inside, and plus if the ingredients comes from chemicals or natural ingredients.
Yeah, for sure. And I know we're talking about all dogs here, but for I think most of my listeners know that I have Bernese Mountain Dogs, so we do focus a lot on the giant breeds. Are there easy options for maintaining or enhancing overall health for giant breeds with traditional Chinese medicine? I know you had mentioned some herbs and mushrooms earlier. Is that the easiest option for people?
It doesn't have to be traditional medicine standpoint. So giant breed, joint health is primary factor in terms of health. And also some giant breed has breed specific heart disease and neuropathic myopathy, like losing a muscle much faster than other breeds. Basically, high quality of diet definitely helps and keeps the weight in a healthy range. That's probably the easiest option, especially a giant breed. If something happens, it's really hard to transport to vet. And also if, for example, if there is any orthopedic surgery was done, it's really hard for owner to keep up exercise because they usually require some support, and giant breed obviously it's heavy, so weight is really the key factor how to keep joint health healthy, and also exercise is primary goal to keep healthy too.
And I know from just a fresh food and raw food feeding standpoint, the recommendation, and this is what we do as well, we feed between 1.5% to 2% of our dog's body weight per day. And that's for your typical, I think, American dog that doesn't have as active of a lifestyle. My Berners don't pull carts all day. They don't work on the farms. A lot of times I get criticism from people that say, oh, it doesn't look like, when I show them the bowl, it doesn't look like there's enough food in it for them. But just like what you said, we really are conscientious of keeping their weight even a little bit on the lower side. They're healthy, obviously, but because so many medical issues, especially in the giant breeds, it is tied to obesity and the stress on the joints and the stress on the other systems, heart, respiratory, that sort of thing. So I think that's a really good point to make. I want to go back a second to, because I haven't ever really used traditional Chinese medicine in respect of like herbs and mushrooms with my dog. So if I was going to go and start that into my dog's diet, where do I go to find that information? Or is there an herbal website, or where do people go to find reputable sources for those items, I should say?
Unfortunately, herbal any supplement, even human supplements. And those mushrooms are not strictly regulated by FDA. For example, Amazon sells a bunch of supplements. It's say natural or plant-based. They are not really tested quality-wise and safety-wise. Best source is if there are any holistic veterinarian nearby, probably just talk to them and ask them. But holistic vet is not really widely available in every area. One of the source is, I think, NACA or something like that. There is an organization, it's a third party, so they have to test the quality of the supplement and make sure there is no any residual chemicals or pesticide overuse of pesticides in ingredients. There is a mark of NACA. That is a one way to make sure the ingredient is safe enough to consume. The website is nasc.cc. This stands for National Animal Supplement Council. It's just an organization. So for example, I just brought one product. I don't know if you can see. Oh, it's really see. So it's really hard to see. Probably there is a kind of yellow. If you check label or package, you can see definitely those company actually submit testing results to get certified, get the permission to use NASC logo on a package. Those are the one way to make sure supplement is safe, relatively safe to consume.
If you didn't hear Yuki, that would be the NASC, stands for the National Animal Supplement Council. So it'll be a little yellow label on the bottle. And then, like you said, looking for holistic vets. I know there's a database where you can go and search online holistic vets in your area. Unfortunately, they're not as prevalent as conventional vets, but you could even, I know some will do the option of telehealth like we do with humans, where they'll meet with your pet virtually. Obviously, that's not ideal, but if you just wanted to ask some questions to get some more information about feeding different supplements and where to get them safely, that could be an option for you as well. Yuki, I really want to thank you for your time today, and I want to give you a chance to tell the listeners, or if you're watching on YouTube, where can they find out more information about what you do or becoming a client if it's something that they're interested in.
Sure, thank you. I have a website which is Food Medicine for Animals, plural.com. Locally, I do in-person counseling too, but I also do online counseling. If your dog has some medical issue, couldn't really cured by conventional medicine, I'm happy to help what we can do together to alleviate any symptoms. It doesn't mean, so I just wanted to make sure I am not against conventional medicine. So I am not here to give alternate option. For example, stop this medication, use this herbal medicine. No, I will not gonna do that. So basically, I want to know what's the medical history, what kind of medicine your dog or cat is getting, and what's the symptom, what's the concern, what's the goal, and then I can tailor some option, maybe food adjustment, supplement, herbal medicine, mushroom, work together to improve their health.
That's awesome. And we'll put all of Yuki's information again in the show notes or in the YouTube video description so that it's easy for you to find. So again, Yuki, thank you so much for coming on today and for talking about something that a lot of us Americans maybe still are in the dark about, but is an alternative, even in conjunction with conventional medicine, that could help some of us who have dogs and cats that conventional medicine just can't always solve the problem. So I really appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you.
I have a quick favor to ask you. If you've ever gotten any value from this podcast and you haven't already, please leave me a rating, and if you're feeling generous, a review in the app that you're listening to my voice right now. It only takes a few seconds, but it really goes a long way in helping me to share even more valuable stories and dog history on the show, because it tells me what you really want to know and helps me land bigger guests to show the world what I'm doing here is actually fun and valuable. Once again, if you've ever gotten any value from this show and you haven't already, please just take a moment to leave me a 5-star rating, a brief review, and what value you've gotten, and I will be eternally grateful.